G'day and welcome to Cuba to Rio. That was the squeaking sand of Kilcare, where I just got back from holiday at the top there. This is episode 2, where I spoke to my great uncle Keith Arneman. He's a World War II veteran and a fantastic storyteller, so I just had an amazing time speaking to him just the other day. Tried to challenge myself with this one, see how quickly I could record, edit and upload an episode. So this is hot off the presses. We're firing on all cylinders at the moment. The main place that I'll keep in contact with you guys while I'm over there is through the Facebook page. That's just type in Cuba to Rio on Google and you'll find it. And also, if you guys have any suggestions for where I should visit or what I should see while I'm over there, hit me up at the email. That's cubatorio@gmail.com. There's a number 2, but you probably know that if you've already found it. Alright, so have a listen. It's a great episode, and watch out for the Irish accent in the middle there. It was supposed to be Scottish, and I apologise profusely.
My name is Keith William Arneman. I was born on the 11th of April 1923 at North Sydney. I now live in Northbridge, and I have lived in this home since 1947.
Oh, so what was Northbridge like in the early days?
Yeah. Now, for a while there, I lived in Northbridge long before 47, of course, and there's been a hell of a lot of difference over the years, the way Northbridge has progressed and that.
Yeah. So have you always lived in this area?
I have lived, for a short while I lived in Camaray. I lived for a short while in Katoomba. And of course I was 5 years away from Northbridge when I was in the army in WW2.
WW2. So before we get to the army stuff,
Yeah.
So what was it like going to school at Camaray there?
Camaray, at that stage at Camaray, I lived in Raleigh Street, Camaray, which is just one street below the school. I remember my brother went off to school, and I was 2 years younger, so at that stage, well, if he went off at 5, I was only just 3. But I can recall him going up to school, and I used to wander up round about 3 o'clock. I don't know if my mother said your brother will be coming home soon, but I'd wander up to the school gates and meet him at the school gates.
Yeah.
In those days, there was no problem. The kids used to wander around the area, that way, and you didn't have to have parents with you all day or all the time.
Yeah. What were the teachers like in the Australian schooling system?
Teachers in those days, some very good teachers and some very strict teachers.
Or did you have any run-ins?
I started off with kindergarten. Miss Audit was a very nice teacher in kindergarten, and in 3rd class I had a Mrs. Charlton. She's a very nice lady too. See, in those days they didn't employ a lot of women school teachers.
Yeah.
The rule was to stick them in. But Miss Charlton, she lost her husband in World War One, so in those days they allowed the widows to still keep on teaching at school. So Miss Charlton. Then the next teacher was Mrs. Blackett. Not so nice. Mrs. Blackett, her father was at one time mayor of North Sydney, and he owned a big block of ground down below Camaray Golf Links, where there's a big quarry. And I think they tell me that with all the buildings that went on through North Sydney, he sold all his rocks and that to the council while he was mayor.
Oh, genius. A little racket there.
yeah. But she, no one seemed to like her. Finally, I had a headmaster there whose name was Joseph May. He's a lovely bloke, came from the country, and he used to tell us all stories about what had happened in the country where he lived and taught for many years. From then, I qualified to go to North Sydney Boys High School.
And was it still a selective school back then?
You had to pass the qualifying certificate.
Yeah.
So it was like a selective, yes.
What age did you finish school?
Well, I finished school when I was 15 years of age. That's 1938.
Yeah.
And I qualified for what they call the intermediate certificate. I got an average pass in those days. I passed in all 8 subjects, but only got 2 A's and 6 B's.
Yeah.
When you went to North Sydney High, they expect you to get about 8 A's.
8 A's straight, yeah.
However, I suppose on that pass I would have finished about halfway through the year.
Halfway through.
Yeah.
So what was your first job then?
Well, I got a job one day. My mother said, well, if you're not going back to school, you better get a job. And the Sydney Morning Herald used to advertise jobs. And I see there was a company in the city, didn't say who they were, but they were employing junior clerks. So I wrote a letter to them, gave them all my history, and they told me to call in, and after an interview I obtained a job there.
And what was that like? What was the job like?
The job was actually a filing clerk, just filing stuff away all the time.
Oh, did you last long at that?
Well, I lasted till I was 18. So that was 15 after about 18. I was never happy there. And at 18 I said, I've had it. And I went and enlisted in the army.
So what was your reasoning for joining the army, aside from escaping your clerking job? But what?
Well, it turned out at that stage that they were bringing in conscription.
Yeah.
And anyone from 18 onward would be called up.
But it never got through in Australia.
Oh yes, they called them through. Well, it wasn't called conscription.
Yeah.
It just meant that once you got 18, they said you reported to the army, and then they allowed you into a unit, army, navy, or air force.
Yeah.
So it was a form of prescription, you know.
So what was your reasons for joining?
Well, so I thought, well, I think I'll. Another chap said to me too, a friend of mine. He said, look, now's the time to enlist in the army, because he said if you get called up, they'll send you anywhere.
Yeah.
He said, but if you enlist and get into a place, you got a chance of getting into, you know, a pretty good unit. You could tell them that you know, you would want to be in the infantry, the engineers, or the artillery, or that, and possibly they'd post to some unit.
So what was your role initially?
Well, initially I wanted to be in the. I thought, well, I'll go into the engineers. That seems interesting. See, the engineers used to do a lot of building and all that type of stuff, and they moved around a lot. But they had too many going for that, so I was posted to the artillery. See? Now, the artillery concerned what they call tank attack, previously known as anti-tank. In other words, they had anti-tank guns, and their job was to demolish tanks.
Yeah.
Then there was anti-aircraft. Now they had heavy guns for planes flying at heights or for low-flying aircraft. So they had 3.7s, I think they called them, for the heavy stuff up in the air.
That was millimetres.
Eh?
Millimetres, 3 point... Oh, no, it wouldn't be 3.7 inches.
Or something like that, yeah. Or Bofors. Now, Bofors was a Swedish gun, fast shooting, a 20-metre shell, and it was good for all the low stuff. You know, any low stuff attacking of that. And it was mobile too. It was on wheels, and they could move it anywhere.
Yeah.
So I finished up in a Bofors unit.
So where did you do your training?
Well, I did my training at Cowra, but I never saw a gun at Cowra. They didn't have any.
How do they send you off to war without showing you a gun?
Well, that was the same with most. We had no equipment in Australia. around the parks they had monuments where they had
All your guns were on platforms around the parks.
Yeah. No, you did your basic training. You went there and you learnt how to handle a rifle, a 303.
Yep.
Yeah. That was your main thing. You did all the drills with a rifle. They took you to the rifle range and you had a few shots at targets and that. And that was virtually your training.
So what were you doing at Carroll? Were you practicing with sticks or...?
No, we all had rifles.
Okay.
They did have rifles. They still had a big supply from World War One.
Oh, Jesus.
They used to make them at Lisco.
Okay.
They started to make them at Lisco, so they were never short of that. But they also had you on machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
And with the machine gun, I think there's only one in the camp, so you only got ration time on each.
3 shots.
Yeah.
So what year...
But they got you a Bren gun. So your Bren gun, well, we didn't have any, but as you went overseas, your job was to strip it in the dark and put it together again. See, that was one of the exercises you had to do.
What time did you get that down to?
I took about half an hour. But most of the blokes, we had 1 or 2 experts, but apart from that, I can tell you. Yes. But they were great guns. They were so accurate. You had no reason to strip them down anyway. They were always so accurate and so good. Yeah. Yes. But anyway, as I say, so eventually at Cowra, they said, "Oh, you're on a draft." See? I said, "On a draft, that's what you call it." "Yes, so that means you're going overseas." See? And they, at that time, the Australian troops were going overseas, well, mainly from Sydney, and they used the Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, and that's what. They used to go to the Middle East and back. While one was going to the Middle East to arrive to the Middle East, one would arrive back in Sydney, and they worked it that way. And they took about 7,000 or 8,000 troops on them then. Yeah.
Wow.
But years later, when America came to war, the Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth left America. They arrived in Britain in 3 or 4 days. It was a quick trip. They had no escort because they were very fast.
Yeah.
See? Subs couldn't keep up with them. And they virtually stripped them down by then, and they used to take 20,000.
So where was your first posting for the war?
Oh, now it turned out that those of us who left from Cowra were in a forward party, what they called, advance party, and the ship pulled out, and all of a sudden we find we're going down to Tasmania, Hobart.
All right.
Yeah.
Go on a detour.
So we go down to Hobart and picked up Tasmanians, and then turned around, back up to Sydney.
Picked up some more.
Then we picked up the mob, the lot. Anyway, we went, and straight away down south. We didn't go through the Bass Strait. We went right round the bottom of Tasmania, for the simple reason a lot of subs used to lurk in the Bass Strait Sea.
Try and pick people
so,
up.
So they kept away from that. Then across under the Bight, across the Bight, she didn't roll, luckily, and into Fremantle. We couldn't dock. We had to stand so far off because there wasn't the facilities in Fremantle those days.
Yeah.
So we then left Fremantle and on our own initially, and about a day out we struck a cruiser. Now this cruiser, the Sydney.
Oh, so she was sunk later in the war, the Sydney, wasn't she?
She was sunk after she left us. She was sunk only about a fortnight later.
Oh.
So those what's-names ships were cruising around that area.
Yeah, that was our greatest naval disaster.
Yeah,
that one.
yes.
Yeah.
So, and when we halfway across. So on that trip, all those ships in those days zigzagged for 7 minutes. They claimed that a sub could line you up in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what sort of shenanigans did you guys get up to on the boat? Like a couple of thousand men? There must have been some pranks or...
Well, you're up on deck most of the time instead of down. Of course, you had to go there. You had the hammocks.
Yeah.
See, and their hammocks. Now, they had these big rooms converted for meals and that. And they'd probably have a couple of thousand in those areas. And you'd be trying to find a bit of space for you. Well, half of us never knew about hammocks. We soon found out they'd put hammocks up and jump into them, fall out of them and
twist them up.
Yeah. And mainly we're up on deck as much we can. The bit of a problem with toilets and things like that. See?
Yeah.
But the mainly up on deck we had exercises and that, and also lectures.
Okay. What about?
Now, as it got hotter, you didn't go downstairs. You grabbed just a blanket and went upstairs and lay on the deck and slept up there for night. But the Alaska seamen who worked on the ships, they'd come along as soon as it was light. Washy decks, and let go of the hose.
Get on.
You got bloody washed off the decks.
Don't need a shower though.
Eh?
Don't need a shower after that.
No. Well, it was all salt water anyway, showers.
Oh, getting
You were
pumped
that
straight up.
sticky, and they gave you salt water soap, but oh God, you're always sticky and that, yeah.
So once you landed in Egypt, was it?
We landed at a place called Suez, and it was like bloody Suez too, the dirtiest place in the world. It was the entrance to the Suez Canal. Yeah, see? And it stood off, it didn't go into a wharf.
Yeah.
And stood off there. In fact, 300 yards across, there was a ship. It was low tide, and you could see about a quarter of the ship laying on the bottom and being bombed by German bombers.
Yeah.
And that ship later was raised, and it was used. It came to Sydney several times later when the migrant program started after the war,
Yeah.
and it was called the Sydney.
Yeah. So what was your first taste of any action?
Well, we were at one of the camps one time there, and about a lot of German bombers. I don't know where they're coming from. They were returning back to over the Mediterranean, back to wherever they had a base over that side.
Yeah.
And often the rear gunners they'd come over pretty low, and the rear gunners would empty guns all over the place. You know, any camp he saw with tents of that and they were low enough, he'd give them a burst. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of blokes got hit that way. Well, they were sleeping at 5 in the morning, and
These guys come over.
yeah. In fact, we lost our sergeant major, Roy Roosevelt. He was laying there, and this gun came over, and he got riddled with these some rear yes. But
So you moved across from Egypt up through North Africa,
Yeah.
and then beyond that, what was your most memorable recollection of that desert campaign?
pretty busy, put it that way. Bloody, it was their strength, Air Force strength then. Oh God, bloody planes. Every 10 minutes they'd become fighters mainly.
Yeah.
Oh,
And these were Rommel's.
Yeah, bombers
Yeah.
used to go other places, but fighters had come there, and their main object was to come. Well, they'd come in like just strafing all the time, strafing. Oh God, and their artillery. Their artillery. Those 88 millimeters were a great gun. They were a great anti-aircraft gun and a great field gun.
Yeah.
And also against tanks. And but they had a better, far better range than our 25 pounders.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to every sent the stuff over all the time, you know.
Yeah. So when did you feel the battle shifting against the Germans? Because we ended up winning that
Only
desert campaign.
near the finish when I started to see all the equipment coming in.
Yeah.
The equipment was coming up from, well, down sewers through the ships that way, and it was coming up and bloody tanks, and that's the first time I saw a jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, jeeps, look at them, man. All the jeeps and bloody...
So was this the Americans? Because the you guys
there were no Americans
sandwiched
there,
the Germans
but it was American
back onto it.
equipment.
Yeah.
No, there was no Americans in that part of Africa. The Americans finally landed right over...
In Morocco.
Yeah, right over that way. Yeah.
So you never met any American troops before you?
No, we did not. And you might see a few odd troops there who might have been stationed, might have been observers or something, some type of job there. But no, we had. There was us, New Zealanders. There was Polish. A free
Polish
and
army.
they had all women with them fighting too.
I would have made a few men happy.
Well, they'd go passing trucks, half of them be women, and the blokes would be yelling out. Polish.
Yeah.
And the blokes who used to cut all their stuff they eat with them alive. They've chickens and all that stuff. Indian, what do you say?
The Sikhs.
Eh? Well, I like Indian troops. Yeah. And they used to go around carrying their live chooks and that. when it was bloody tea time, they'd wring one's neck and cook it or something. Oh, they did that.
They were probably the only people with fresh meat.
They were. All we had, you can go up to Woolies and you see those tins that we call a bully beef. They call it corned beef or something. Yeah. You get those, and you get these biscuits. They called them biscuits, packs like that, but that was hard as hell. The only way you could soften them was soak them in a bit of water.
Oh.
God, they had no taste. What we used to do is get them and put them in water, and then we had a Bunsen burner, we'd carry it, and heat them up and try and make a bit of porridge out of it. So you had no sugar.
Yeah.
You just got no milk. You just had plain tea for a start. See?
So was anyone creative with their food? What recipes came out of the army rations?
Bully beef, or you ate it as it was out of the tin. You bloody cooked it in one of your containers. That's all. Heated it up and nothing you could add to it. You had nothing to it.
Add to it.
Into it.
All right. Yeah. So did you have any direct interaction with any German troops?
At one stage, they broke through, and I suppose there'd be 300 of them, and we were right over. See, in Alamein, it ran only 20 miles from the sea to inland.
Yeah.
And then there was what they call the Katara marshes. Believe it or not, it was desert, but they were these marshes.
Yeah. So this is El Alamein in Libya.
That was at Alamein there. That's what saved them at Alamein. Their tanks and that couldn't come round them because of the marshes. See? But further up, of course, well, it was just a case of you either advanced or retreated.
So what happened once these 300 broke through?
Well, there was this artillery who was just pounding this section all the time with 25-pounder shells. Anything that could fire all through there. And then finally a couple of infantry battalions came around and more or less they took them side on. They virtually wiped them out, yeah. But there were, I suppose, about 50 prisoners there, and I got talking to a couple of them there, and I said, "How long you been in the army?" Oh, he said, "Got called up." They can speak English.
Yeah.
Oh, we got called up. He said, "They just called us up and says, right." I said, "What'd you do?" One bloke said, I was a third-year medical student. I said, what, didn't they put you to medical corps? No, he said, the army doesn't do that. I said, you must be like the Australian army.
Yeah.
I said, anyone with qualifications, they could made them a cook or something.
Yeah. So did it when
But,
you were talking?
but they just said they just called up, and that was it. They had no say in it.
Yeah.
Because, as I say, Hitler ran the show over there, all these generals.
Yeah.
But they did say that they had a hell of a lot of faith in Rommel.
Yeah.
They said, they said he's a marvellous man. That's what they thought of him, compared with all the other generals.
Well, because he had already taken France, Rommel, and so he had a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that was it. But in the finish, once we broke through, oh God.
So none of them seemed driven by any ideology. They were just soldiers.
Not the ones we spoke to. No, they just, we had one of our blokes could speak German very well because he lived with a German family literally all his life. They lived next door, and of course all the kids he knocked around were there. They spoke German.
Yeah.
He taught them English, and they taught him German.
Easy.
Yeah.
All right.
But no, they all this business. Half of them, I think, they a bit, thought, well, we've got no say in it. We're told we've got to come here and fight, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
So you either fight or get killed.
So why?
We were talking to them about the Russian front.
Yeah.
And they said, oh God, poor buggers who get sent there. Yeah. They said we're lucky we didn't land there, but gee, said every bloke in the army hates going to Russia. But at one stage there we had to retreat a couple of 4 or 5 mile up the desert, and we actually in this retreat we ran out of petrol.
Yeah.
And we're beside the end of the road, and just sitting there waiting for someone to pick us up. And there was 1, 2, 4 of us and a driver, and along came this Jeep, and it was driven by a German officer. You've seen him on movies, and this was very much like it. Spruced up in his uniform, a moustache, a cap, driving on his own, driving a Jeep. And he pulled up where we were, and he saw that, well, they knew most of us were out of petrol and that. And he said, you are my prisoners. In English.
Yeah.
And the driver bloke from us was round the back. See, he wasn't where we were. Well, we're at the back of the truck, he was round where he drives. And he just came round the side with his rifle, bang, right between the eyes.
Oh. That's
so he said, no, I don't, when he said you were my prisoners, this bloke said, no, I don't think so.
Oh, bloody movie.
You are my prisoners.
No.
God, don't forget that.
So why were you fighting then? Why were you fighting?
Where?
Like, what reasons did you have to fight?
Well, first I went in the army. I knew that it wasn't going to be a cook's tour type of thing.
Yeah.
But I joined that because otherwise, if I hadn't, I would have been in the army, called up, and I could have been sent anywhere of that.
Yeah, so it was...
So I just thought, well, this other way, I had a chance of also, you had a little bit of status, an enlisted man.
An enlisted man had a little bit of status.
Nice. You had the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th divisions, and the armour division, all only had enlisted men in.
All right.
Well, that...
enlisted for status. And did that status follow?
A lot of these other units and that, they called them the Chocos.
Oh, the Chocos, because they'd melt in the heat of battle.
Chocolate surge, all that, yeah. So, if a bloke was in the Chocos, got put in the quick and lively, as quick as he could, he'd enlist to get into
enlisted ones.
Oh, yeah, a big like that. But no, I think when I went in the army, I knew, well, sooner or later something's going to happen. I might be lucky and not even see a shot in anger, see?
Yeah.
But that's what you do. Some chaps there, I think, found it that way. They got sent to some place and they were more or less guarding some area or some section, some land or that, and they never even saw anyone in anger. See, up the desert, you always carried a shovel. That was more important than your rifle because you dug down. You know, it wasn't all sand, it was a bit rocky in it there, and you dig a thing about as big as that there and down about, that deep. And that was your home, you know.
Yeah.
Because every time something came strafing, you dived into that for a start. That was that, or if shells came over, you, unless one landed in the bloody spot with you, see, the shells there, Germans were using two types of shells. One had come and hit the ground, and the others we call daisy cutters.
Because
they'd hit the ground and they caused a whole lot of trouble. Daisy cutters.
Yeah.
Blokes, see, because at the same time, a bloke had dived to the ground, flat to the ground, and of course a daisy cutter had come along at the same height as him.
Yeah.
If it had been one of the other type of shells, well, poof,
it would have just gone straight up.
Him. Oh, they were horrible, those daisy cutters. Yeah.
So, did you get hit at all in the desert campaign?
I got knocked by a few rocks one day. A shell came over. I hit the ground, and these bloody rocks went up in the air and came down. Oh, things like
bashed into you.
That's strafing, I suppose. Planes came out strafing. I dived. I hit the ground, and I suppose bullets finished up 5-10 yards away, like that. Yeah. But I never got a direct hit in there was stuff flying. You never know. There was all this rubbish flying around, you know.
Yeah.
You know, machine guns going, and God, you and see in the army, you had to go forward. If they said, right, you went forward. You didn't go back of that.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't go forward and follow the instructions, well, you could finish up in a bloody court-martial.
Yeah.
You had to, you just had to do with the bloke in charge, even though some of these officers, they were out in front of you, so at least they'd cop it just as much you did. But then there are other officers there right behind you, giving all instructions. Right, move up, move up, move up. And before you knew, they were 100 yards behind you.
Yeah. So
blokes had tick them off and that.
Yeah.
You know, call them everything and finish up after go on a court-martial for insubordination and all that type of thing.
I understand that you were coming home for some R&R when you got redirected to Papua New Guinea.
We came back. Eventually, we were due to go after Alamein to go across to the bottom of Syria, not Syria, Italy.
Sicily.
What's that part below Italy where all the gangsters used to
Sicily?
Sicily.
Yeah.
You cross through to Sicily and then into Italy. And I believe that, what's the name, the government here said, no, bug here. Japan's pretty close to us. We want all our men back in Australia or back fighting.
Yeah, that was John Curtin, the Labor Prime Minister at the time.
So that's what happened. They just said, right, you're coming back. So that's it. We came back. We got posted up to North Queensland there, up above Cairns and all that there, Mareeba, all those places, which was real jungle, you know, really jungle. And you had to learn about, well, you couldn't learn anything about jungle. You couldn't see anything. From here to there, you wouldn't know anyone was there. whereas up the desert you can see bloody things for
Miles,
miles.
yeah. Which did you prefer?
Well, actually, there wasn't a muck coming at you in the jungle. Might be odd snipers that, whereas in the other place, God, you never know what was coming from tanks, planes or anything, yeah. That, the might, it was such a, Rommel's mob were, oh God, they had everything.
Yeah.
How I still can't work out how we stopped them, you know. On that first
Good planning and many fronts.
Eh?
Yeah, a lot of pressure on them from
Well-
all sorts of sides.
Well, by that stage, we had the Scottish divisions came along.
Yeah.
They sent them out and some English divisions. In fact, the Scottish divisions were posted to us because they had to learn about, what
Yeah.
was... the green fields of England and Scotland was far different to the desert, you know.
Yeah.
And they had to learn from what they said, seasoned troops. But what we saw first was they were whiter, 10 times whiter than I, and out in that sun, the poor buggers
They got
God.
sunburnt.
sunburnt. Yeah. Imagine them in shorts and oh, God. Anyway, they did a damn good job. That 51st Highland Division.
51st Island Division.
Yeah, they were a very, very great, very. Apparently they had a name going back centuries, type of thing. Yeah, but they'd have blokes there just with a bagpipe, no gun or anything, out in the open. God, yeah, God, yeah. But no, they were there. They were decent blokes too, when you could understand them. When they got talking.
Had the thickest accents.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah. But they only got, see, we only got 5 bob a day. They only got about 2 bob a day or something.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
In Papua New Guinea, were you on the Kokoda
Oh.
Trail?
Which?
Were you on the Kokoda Trail?
No. We landed up in Milne Bay.
And which side of Papua New Guinea is that on?
As there's New Guinea and it goes along like that to a peak and up like that, then right down.
So right on the eastern point.
Down towards that's Milne Bay. Yeah, I never got to the capital there.
Yeah.
Or that
Bougainville. Yeah.
All the place I were all up that northern. I'd call it the northern coastline.
So when did you first encounter the Japanese?
Well, as I say, half the time you never bloody saw the bastards,
Yeah.
There'd be stuff blowing through the bush, bullets and God knows what. They didn't have any artillery.
No.
Again.
So what was it like doing supply runs, like getting water and stuff like that?
Well, that was it. There'd be creeks there, and you'd go down with a couple of big cans to get water, and so many blokes got killed, the Japs would hang round those areas hidden. The blokes would go down, and next minute, bang. So in the finish, if a chap would go down with buckets, you had to have about 4 blokes going down with them.
Yeah. So when did you ever get the water?
Eh?
Did you ever go collect water?
Oh, we all got our turn,
Yeah.
but you always had 3 or 4 guards with you, eh?
Yeah.
And most of the time they had Bren guns with them too, which was, oh yes. So, but quite a few blokes, they used to, Japs were cunning that way, even there, down some of the main places where they got water, they'd virtually have patrols there,
Yeah.
virtually waiting. But once you knew you had a few with you, they seemed to know the Japs are quick alive. If it was just one bloke could sneak down to get water himself the next minute. No, it was it's one of those things, you never knew what was going to happen next, just with all the dense growth and everything there.
No, it's impossible for the train.
You get a bit of a night there under a bush with a blanket, and you never know next. You might wake up with a Jap with a bayonet against your bloody chest. Yeah, it was one of those. It was more scary,
Yeah.
because you couldn't see anything. And the other thing was, they up the trees, part of the coconut trees. Now, we had a bloke went up a coconut tree. He got halfway up and he couldn't get down quick enough. He was covered in big bloody ants. And yet, the Japs could get up there and sit up there for days with a rifle.
Yeah.
And just as someone come up, bang, 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 yeah. And
It was just a different kind of drive. Did you ever, so same as with the German troops, did you ever have any direct interaction with any Japanese prisoners or?
yeah, well, one bloke, this bloke came through, I think he came charging through, and I don't know whether he'd gone off his head or that, and he just had a rifle and he was going bang, bang, and quick and lively. About 8 blokes knocked him over in the one shot. Yeah, that was the closest one.
So how many months had you been in the army by that stage?
Well, from June 41 it'd be to 46. Yeah.
46.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
what a career.
So,
All right. So since the war, what have you mainly been preoccupied with? Like throughout the 50s and 60s and everything, what's been your
I've
main
had a good
occupation?
day. See, you had to settle in. See, it's one of those things, and you have to learn discipline again too. You know.
What, a different kind of discipline, or?
Well, yeah, you know, in the army when you got a group of blokes together, that's pretty rough, you know.
Yeah.
Your language was bloody awful. Language, you wouldn't automatically. You'd be, you know, you didn't think you were things like that, you know,
Yeah.
and you treated death like something well natural, I suppose it is. You know, things like that,
Yeah.
and all those type of things. Well, I when I met Peg, I remember I said, God, I've got to watch what I'm talking about.
You've got to re-civilise yourself.
Although old Jack here, at times old Jackie Swan, he come out with things at times, you know, all the bloodies and this. And,
Yeah.
So I thought, but even so, you had to watch, you know, and I got that. Well, I think Peg got me well trained that way. You know, things I said or ideas and that, you know. She's pretty strict woman, Peg, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. You ask her some of the family about it.
So looking back over
And,
all of it, we'll probably finish up on this note. So looking back on over all of it, what's your happiest moments throughout your life?
Right, I had a very good marriage. Wonderful. Admittedly, I mean, when you got a very good wife, you know. But I changed. I was happy that after all of the army and we were rough nuts and this and that, but the way I suppose converted myself to a gentleman type of thing.
Yeah.
And from then on, I got had a good job. I was happy. Then I had a family. I had a wonderful wife. What more could you want? And all those years, well, gee, I was very happy and that. And as I say, when you're together for just on 70 years, 69 years,
You and Peg, yeah.
I tell you what, that's a long time. And you know, you miss your wife. I still miss them, even though it's been a few years now. But as I say, I consider myself lucky. And as I say, since then there have been grandchildren and everything. So I've been very, very happy.
That's brilliant. All right. Well, we will continue to look after you, Keith, because we'll love coming down and having a
that's
chat.
one thing too. I'm very happy. I know. I'm in my 90s now. I'm not crawling on a walking stick or that. I'm still. My fitness might be say 30% or 40%, but I'm enjoying it. I'm sleeping well. I'm eating well. I'm still meeting different people and that.
Yeah.
And I'm quite happy. I
That's
consider
fabulous.
myself
Yeah, it is
very lucky. I know.
thoroughly
I've had.
fulsome life.
I think I go to about 5 specialists for different things, but they don't worry me.
Yeah.
They all say, "Oh, come back in 6 months' time."
And you'll still be there in 6 months' time,
Well,
that's for sure.
it.
How good was that? And just off mic afterwards, Keith wondered aloud to me what his life would have been like without war. And I think that question occupies him for quite a while. So it's a disappointment that we didn't get that on tape. But yeah, we're off tomorrow is the big day. Right now I'm sitting at home and my bags are strewn across the floor behind me, and we're desperately trying to tie up loose ends. We just had a leaving party on Sunday night, courtesy of Mum and her fantastic organising capability, and everyone was there that needed to be. It was just a fantastic night. But on thinking about that, like, at the moment, they are the people that are listening to this. But I was thinking, how do I introduce myself to people that aren't familiar with me and the like? And then the answer came up in the form of a rather belated addition to our speeches that night. And my brother Tim, who's currently in Shanghai studying, sent me this fantastic letter that really synthesizes the last year down, and it's just a fantastic read. So I'm gonna read that out to you, just to give those of you that aren't familiar with me, because I'm no known quantity, an idea of who I am and where I am at the moment. So let's go. Matt. Let's just say we're all very concerned about you gallivanting off to South America. Not least of all because last time you did, you came back looking like Che Guevara and sharing many of his revolutionary views. I mean, look at you. You studied political economy at uni, bailed out of travel agency because they're quote-unquote Satan-spawned capitalist bastards devoid of any notion of human sensibilities. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but you do get the picture. And then went off to frolic with Greenpeace hippies under the guise of volunteering for a non-for-profit organisation for experience. If you're looking for experience smoking oodles of pot, I'm sure you've gamed it. Winky face. Now, I can only crack all these joys because I am currently halfway around the world, and you're about to fly even further away. I'm also trying my best to amuse, as when I return, I will have instated myself as a comedy king of the House Scholar in your absence. One thing is for sure, while you're away, Molly will miss you. We won't, because we might actually own a second car that survives more than a month. I don't know what automobile Darwinist agenda you're pulling here, but our wallet certainly can't survive the unnatural selection. Anyway, if previous adventures are anything to go by, your next adventure will be quite a blast. We've got drunk, literally tossed out of a club, and went skinny dipping off some rich cunt's catamaran in Hamilton Island. And that was still in Australia. Throw in a couple of extra 1,000 kilometres, cheap Peruvian cocaine, and the South American homosexual underground, and I can only imagine the sort of mess you might get yourself into. Good luck with the podcast. I think that comes from everyone here. I'll be telling people here in China about you if you tell South America your awesome little brother who kind of looks like Jesus and plays music as if God himself were lending a hand. That'd be good, thanks. Anyway, have a mad trip, stay safe, learn about yourself as well as other fascinating things, and don't come back unless you really feel like it. I may see you in Chile next year, if Mum pays the fare over. Bon voyage, Tim. There's a lot in that certainly captures the wayward year that was 2015, and I'm sure you'll hear about that in the podcast to come. So, yeah, stick around. Our next podcast will officially make us an international podcast. We are going to be broadcasting from somewhere in Cuba. So, look forward to that. And, yeah, let's get going. This is the first step on our journey from Cuba to Rio.